France of the 1980s versus Italy of the 2020s, two eras, two views on beauty, style, and development. One era is Parisian charm, art, and intellectual elegance. The other is digital Italy, where fashion, technology, and design are intertwined in the modern world. France of the 1980s lived in the rhythm of haute couture, philosophy, and cinema. Italy of the 2020s lives in the rhythm of innovation, sustainable development, and fashion, which is moving into the metaverse. What has changed in 40 years, and why does Europe still inspire the world with its style and thinking? France in the 1980s is an era of confidence. Paris is the undisputed capital of fashion and taste. The windows of Dior, Chanel, and Yves Saint Laurent shine on the streets. The scent of perfume and sophistication is in the air. The French culture of the 80s was built on the legacy of great names and faith in the power of intelligence and art. It was a time when philosophers, directors, fashion designers, and artists shaped the face of the nation. Godard's cinematography, Gainsbourg's music, and the aesthetics of Vogue Paris magazine all set the tone. France saw itself as the center of the cultural world, where every work of art, every collection of clothes was an act of national pride. At that time, the economy was in a state of balance between state control and private initiative. France in the 1980s was not a technology giant, but it was notable for its high quality of life, well-developed infrastructure, and industrial might. Peugeot and Renault cars symbolized French rationality and practicality, and the aircraft industry with Airbus showed that Europe could compete with the United States. Technology was just beginning to make its way into everyday life. Computers appeared in offices, television remained the main source of information, and the first mobile phones seemed like a luxury. But even here, France tried to go its own way. The Minitel project became the forerunner of the internet, allowing millions of users to access news, banking, and communication long before the global network. The French style of the 80s is not just about clothes. This is a philosophy of self-expression. Bright silhouettes, luxury, confidence. Thierry Mugler, Jean-Paul Gaultier, and Claude Montana rule the catwalks. Women in business suits with broad shoulders symbolize a new era, strength, independence, and the desire for success. Fashion reflects social changes, feminism, individualism, and the pursuit of freedom. Now fast forward to Italy in the 2020s. Here, style and innovation live side by side. Milan has become not only the global fashion capital, but also the center of technological design. Italy of the 21st century is a country where ancient workshops are adjacent to artificial intelligence laboratories, and craft and science have found a common language. If France in the 1980s was building a myth about beauty, then Italy in the 2020s is turning beauty into technology. The world has changed, and Italy has changed with it. Modern brands, Gucci, Prada, Versace, Ferrari, Maserati, are no longer just symbols of luxury, but participants in the digital economy. Collections are created using 3D modeling. Shows take place in metaverses, and NFTs become part of the fashion industry. Even traditional houses have adapted. Italian fashion is no longer just about fabric, but also about algorithms, data, and emotions. The Italian economy of the 2020s is based on creativity. Technological startups in Milan and Turin, the robotization of production facilities, the development of green technologies. All this makes Italy a modern leader in the field of design and sustainable development. Here, the past and the future come together. Ancient cities become smart, and innovations rely on cultural heritage. If France in the 1980s was a theater where every gesture is art, then Italy in the 2020s is a laboratory where art becomes a product. France created symbols, Italy creates systems. France talked about beauty, Italy makes beauty practical. The culture has changed too. Italian cinema of the 21st century is not the glamour of the 80s, but deep, emotional stories where realism meets digital effects. Music has moved online, and young artists from Naples or Rome are becoming the stars of global platforms. Architecture has also transformed. Now it is a combination of classics and technology, where buildings are not only beautiful, but also smart. The French ideal of intelligence has given way to the Italian philosophy of emotion and flexibility. If France in the 80s was ruled by philosophers and directors, then Italy in the 2020s was ruled by designers, engineers, and entrepreneurs. The way we look at creativity has become practical. Design solves problems, art inspires innovation, and style becomes part of a sustainable future. Both epochs and both countries strive for harmony, but they follow different paths towards it. France in the 80s inspired the world with its aestheticism. Italy in the 2020s inspires with its ability to combine tradition and progress. Paris taught you to dream, Milan teaches you to create. But there is something in common, a love of detail. French drama and Italian passion are two sides of the same European soul. In a world where technology dictates speed, both cultures remind us that people, style, and beauty are still important. France has shown that culture can be a national strategy. Italy has proved that design can be a tool of the future. If France of the 1980s lived under the motto, "Elegance as art," then Italy of the 2020s lives under the slogan, "Innovation as style." Both eras prove that Europe is not only a history, but also a source of ideas, where technology does not kill art, but helps it grow. In the end, the question is not who is better, but how these two eras inspire each other. France taught the world to appreciate aesthetics, Italy taught it to develop. And perhaps it is at the intersection of these two worlds that the future is born, where technology does not replace culture, but makes it eternal.